Hello. Today I'm going to be. I started a blog a few weeks ago at my blog. My blog name is Bible Reader 1025 at well, I'll put the description or the link on the video description, but it's basically at WordPress. So my screen name is Bible Reader 1025. I started this a few weeks ago, and I've been meaning to start recording basically what I record on Bible on WordPress. So now that I've had a few entries for the last few weeks, I'm gonna try and start recording these. I probably won't do this every day. I'm considering even alternating where I do, news reports and things like that, or current events or something like that one day, and then the next day, what I like one of my entries from WordPress. So. Um, Maybe I'll do both some days, but I'm gonna try and keep it as switching them around every other day. So hopefully that goes well. So I started reading from Genesis 1 recently. I'm currently up to. I just read Exodus 32. So as you can see, I've been reading for the last few weeks, I guess, and things like that. Um, so I'm not gonna go through. Rarely will I probably. I mean, I've considered doing, they have like Let's Play game series, like Let's Play Pokemon or Let's Play, Legend of Zelda or whatever. I might try and start doing maybe people have already started doing this, but I might start doing a Let's Read series where all I do is I pick up the Bible and I read. I'll start reading, but if I do that, it'll probably be a different thing than what I'm doing here. Let me know what you'd think about that if you'd like to, leave comments, if you'd think it would be interesting to see a Let's Read series of the Bible. I'm not sure if they actually have those on YouTube. Of course, I haven't checked, but I guess we'll see. So, anyway, the first section I'm going to share is from Genesis 1 through 11. Um, in chapter 4, we come to a story where there are two people who present an offering to God. One is from a man named Cain, while another is from a man named Abel. Abel's gift is accepted and Cain's is rejected. This right here can be a topic for many sermons today. Ultimately, what they're all trying to figure out is why would one be rejected and why would one be accepted. And there's been many answers that I've seen that people have come up with. For example, maybe Cain just brought in some weeds, whereas Abel brought in a firstborn, best-looking lamb that he could find. Um, and then, of course, and I have some websites on that I'll try and post in the video description. For example, ChristianCourier.com is one of them. It mentions that, it does mention the thing of how Cain brought in the weeds. Another site is AnswersInGenesis.org, which mentions that ultimately the issue could come from Isaiah 55, verse 8, which says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." And the site's kind of, from what I've read about the site, it's kind of talking about how our duty is to make sure that our actions are just and right before the Lord. So, whatever it was that Cain or Abel brought, what matters is that they were doing the right actions, which for whatever reason Cain was not doing the right things and Abel was. And you can really see that Cain wasn't doing the right things because what happens, immediately or shortly after the offering was done. Cain kills his brother. Another site is learning. It's called learnthebible.org. It suggests it cites 1 John 3:12, which says that Cain's actions were wicked while Abel's were righteous. Uh, I'm not going to say which one of these sites that I went to is right because I think they have some things that are right between all of them. I would agree that the main issue is the heart. Cain was not walking with the right heart toward God, and Abel was. So, and also but I'm also gonna have to go to Genesis 3:17 through 19. This is where God cursed the ground. So, I have to wonder, could the part of the reason why Cain's was rejected was because he brought something that was from a cursed ground. No wonder why God had to reject it. Um, and then in the same chapter, I kind of would like to hear some feedback on this one. In Genesis 4:19 through 22, it talks about three different types of cultures: tent dwellers, musicians, and bronze workers. Is there a significance to these people? Because usually when you see genealogies in the Bible or where it's listing different descendants and stuff, it rarely records, what they did or something like that. It just records, so and so begot so and so. Uh, and then, I also find it fascinating in Genesis 4:25 through 26, people were calling on the name of the Lord, but by chapter 6, it's pretty much just Noah that is calling on the name of the Lord. Well, I think his story might be introduced in chapter 7, but basically by the time God decides to wipe out the world, we go from people were calling on the name of the Lord, then all of a sudden they're not by chapter 6. So I find that fascinating. Um, Another thing that I've often wondered is, there's been many debates on this issue here. In Genesis 6, it talks about sons of God, and many people have wondered who are these sons of God. Uh, I'm going to cite some sources that aren't part of the Bible. They were discovered in archaeology archaeology digs. Maybe they were the late 1800s, early 1900s. But the first one is First Enoch 6, starting with verse 1. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and begot us children. Uh, and also, the New Testament discusses how Enoch prophesied for this reason he was not allowed to taste death. So basically, I guess what I'm wondering, could this passage, could his prophecy have been about what had started and ultimately caused God to nearly wipe out the human race, where angels or fallen angels procreating with people? Uh, no, that's a good question. Another reference is Jubilees 5:1, and you can read these on my blog, which I'll post, by the way. Jubilees 5:1 says, And it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of God saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, and they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves wives, all of them they chose. And again, First Enoch 8:1, and Azrael taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of anatomy, and the beautifying of the eyelids, all kinds of costly stones. And it goes on from there. So it seems clear that the world, whether they were fallen angels or not, and I'll be honest, I do believe they were fallen angels. It, that it's referring to with the sons of God. But the issue here is that the world had become so corrupt and so bad that God decided to blot out everyone except for one righteous person, Noah. And while Noah wasn't perfect, in fact, about any Bible hero you can find, Noah, Moses, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Jonah, Peter, Paul, they all had their faults. Noah, as soon as the flood was over, he became a vineyard and he got drunk and later on naked. That's one example with Noah. But but anyway, so by the time of Noah, the world was just corrupt. And here's another reference: Joshua 4:18. And the judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husbands according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its ways upon earth, all men and all animals. That last part I just read, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth, all men and animals. That sounds identical to Genesis 6 right there. Um, and then, of course, in the New Testament, check out these references. And I should have mentioned this earlier. If you don't have a Bible, first of all, get one. But, until you get one, go to www.biblegateway.com. And you can read the Bible on there. And I'm sure there's other sites, but I use BibleGateway.com. But anyway, check out these sources: 2 Peter 2:4, Jude 6, and 1 Corinthians 11:7. So, and wrapping up this whole issue with the sons of God, if they were fallen angels, as I and many other Christians tend to believe they are, it's clear that whether or not they were or weren't, that the human race had so much corruption that it affected God, and He decided to take the drastic action of blotting out nearly all people to where it was only known His family when they got off the ark. Um, Another question that I've often thought of, and this will be the last part I'm going to talk about, is why was Noah spared? Why was he found righteous before God? Because after we all know he wasn't perfect. Here's some verses you might look into: Romans 9:15 and 5:6, Ephesians 2:7 through 9, and I'll also post this, and also this website as asmsite.net gives some reasons. But I think the key issue is faith. When God said build an ark, Noah built an ark. I've heard some debate. It says in some different in the New Testament that Noah was a preacher of righteousness, and I think they might be in one of these verses I'm about to cite, if I'm not mistaken. Hebrews 11:7, 2 Peter 2:5, and 1 Peter 3:1. But I know some people have wondered if Noah even preached at all during the time he built his ark, and maybe he preached before. Um, but the point is, Noah, God told Noah, "I'm going to flood the world. You need to build an ark." And Noah believed him and started building it. I would tend to believe that Noah didn't preach at all during the time he built the ark. I'm willing to admit I could be wrong, but I think his way of preaching of righteousness, how he became a preacher of righteousness, is that God said, "I'm going to flood the world, build an ark for you and your family, and two of each animal," and Noah listened and did it, while the rest of the world had become too corrupt in God's eyes. That's what I tend to believe on this issue. So anyway, that's my video for today. Feel free to leave comments. Take care and God bless you all.